Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions. Thank you again for our time together. I want you to come back with me to the book of Luke chapter 5 today. This is the beautiful story of how service brings blessing. That when you use your talents and your abilities and your assets to serve God, God brings blessing. So we see that beautiful story. Jesus said, Peter, I need to use your boat. And then after he uses the boat, then he takes them out into the deep. And then in verse 6 it says, when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats, and they began to sink. Now come over to verse 11. And when they had brought their boats to land, they left everything and followed him. Did you ever notice Peter left the greatest success of his life to just accept an invitation to be trained? No promises of the future, no promises that he would be a great world-changing apostle. Just come follow me and I'll develop you into a fisher of men, but no promises. Now, brothers and sisters, I look at a lot of our young generation today, and young people, don't get mad at me, but listen to me. You are so into your gadgets, and you're so into your 5,000 peso t-shirts and 10,000 peso Armani blue jeans and your fancy tennis shoes and your BGC lifestyle, that you can't see the fact that there are times that God brings you out of failure and brings you out of poverty and brings you into success. And then he asks you, will you walk away from everything? Will you walk away from everything and be trained for the ministry? I'm 62 years old now. When I came to the Philippines, I was 23. We had a little over 60 million people in our nation at that time, and now we're well over 103 million. And please forgive me, the rebirth rate has nowhere even begun to keep up with the birth rate. The number of churches now are not that many compared to even 1980, 1981. And I sit there and in the quietness of my own thoughts, I think, Lord, have we really accomplished anything? Have we taken a nation for Christ? And my answer in my heart has to be no. And I realize that there are so many young men and young women today that God wants to use to take our nation. Are you willing to give up your BGC lifestyle? Are you willing to give up your fancy car, your fancy gadget, and go and build a church someplace in our nation? Are you willing to walk away from everything, of all of your success and your wealth, to become a fisher of men? This is what I call the Peter's generation call. You had to walk away from something. You had to walk away from wealth. You had to walk away from success. I'm talking to some of you right now because you know God's hand is on your life. You know that God's hand is upon you, and you know that God has called you. But the pull of stuff is just so strong. You're like the rich young ruler. You can't give up your stuff to follow him. I promise you, young men, I promise you, young ladies, the joy of seeing people's lives changed, seeing people healed, seeing families put back together, the joys of the ministry far outweigh any of the joys of the stuff. Will you walk away from everything and follow Jesus into the ministry?